Yeah. So we are now recording. So the standard no finger up the nose, no swearing. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Bob.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. It's very kind of you to give up your time.
And we've all got enough of it.
It's not like we've got anything else to do except the school run for you, not for me.
Yeah.
Which I know you love.
It's my favourite part of my day. It just breaks everything up. That's the problem. I get my head into working, and then I have to run off again, and because we've got one that I pick up at 12, one that I pick up at 3. So
I don't miss that at all.
No. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be glad to be back at work.
I think we all will, and it's looking like it's not going to be too long now, which is really good. I think we're all starting to get a little bit giddy now, and a bit of the cabin fever is set in. Yeah, especially for me. I'm out here. I am in a cabin in the garden. So I mean, for anybody,
has it been that bad for you that they've kicked you out? Is that?
Yeah. My other half's not so fond of having me around all the time. She loved the idea to begin with.
and then you got all the jobs done. You became useless.
Yeah, you get that honey-do list. There's the little notes that she leaves. She goes out like, wash the dishes, feed the cats, point the gable end, all of that sort of stuff. But no, I think it's I've been around too much now. I'm going to look at it as it's probably just too much of a good thing. She probably has a different take on that.
Yeah, I know it's got bad when I start getting fed up with my own company.
Yeah. Funny enough, I was just chatting to somebody the other day about this, and I thought, well, this is great. I'm good. I like my own company. I've discovered just not for this long.
Yeah.
Not for this length of time.
Too true.
So, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm never quite sure. It's one of those. I get bored easily. So I do lots of things, and so I was trying to write a bit of a CV the other day for someone who said, what have you done and such. I always go back to I'm just an ADI, which you can probably associate with that's what I do. That's what I am, and I don't even know what that is now because I'm not at the moment not going back out I'm not going out in the car. And I'm doing theory, Zoom theory, and there's a lot of people need some help. So that's what I'm doing now. So I don't even know what a driving instructor is because I'm kind of redefining my version of that.
I mean, that's I describe myself as I'm just a jobbing driving instructor, because I think it pays to keep yourself grounded. Otherwise, you can start believing in your own importance.
Yeah,
and that's
Definitely, and I as part of being a driving instructor, I've done a lot of stuff, and I've done the stuff because people have asked me to, and I've said yes. Which is, when people say, "How did you end up on Sky News?" I said yes when they asked, and they'd asked 10 instructors before me, and they said no.
Yeah.
So it wasn't because of any, I'm under no illusions. My other half keeps me very grounded. I'm not special, and
they're good at that, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what she's there for. It's great, and the kids do as well because brutal honesty from a 10-year-old.
Oh gosh, yeah.
It's roasted is the new go-to phrase.
Brilliant.
But yeah, so I'm just a driving instructor, but I've been lucky enough to do lots of things. I started the first Facebook group for driving instructors when I was a PDI.
I've got that on my list of things to ask you about.
So I got bored one day. I co-run, I better say, because otherwise I get in trouble, better driver training. And, the job there is that I do the talking to people and the face of it, and Ian Brett does all the work. And I like that. So that's my involvement there. And Ian and myself have done a lot of different things together that I better keep talking about. Involved driving instruction and the industry, and most recently we've set up the Driving Instructor and Trainers Collective, the DITC, and that is going to hopefully be a big part of what we do from now forward.
Well, we'll press you for a bit of detail about that as we kind of go along.
Yeah.
How long have you been in ADI now?
13 years,
So
I
long
think.
enough to know whether you
Must
like
be. Or long enough to know that no one will employ me. So, you pave your own way, don't you, when you can't get anyone else to do so?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that the reasons that people get into this kind of thing. I mean, I've got a joint space shortened in my neck, so I was retired due to ill health, but I wasn't, that bad. But again, nobody would employ me. You were retired. Well, I used to get loads of interviews, but I said, "Why did you leave your last employment?" Oh, I see you were retired due to ill health. What's that all about? So, like most of us, I thought, well, what can I do then? Well, I can drive, I can communicate. Oh, I know, I'll be a driving instructor.
Yes.
That must be dead easy.
I think I said the other day that it's similar to people who don't speak the language that come into a country and become a hairdresser or a barber.
Yeah.
They can speak that language. There's a commonality there, and it's the same with driving. And that we all know that the only prerequisite, the two things, one is a driving license, and the other one is you have to have patience.
Yes.
There are no other skills needed. And then
I always find it surprising that there's an awful lot of driving instructors aren't very patient.
It's like lockdown; it wears off very quickly.
So I mean, your life journey, if my research is correct, you sales rep, then you were an IT guy, then an ADI, then a trainer, then a trainer of trainers. That's an eclectic mix.
Yeah, sort of. It was retail first. I discovered retail when I was leaving school. Well, I was at school. I was doing A levels, and I was in sixth form, working in a toy shop because that's what you want to do when you're 18. And an uber geek, you work in a toy shop. I actually wasn't in the toy department. I was in stationery, and I discovered pens, and that was one of my first loves. Was pens and such. Proper pens, proper Parkers, and things like that. And I discovered that, and I think this is my journey to becoming an instructor. I discovered that as long as you know more than the other people, then they have to come to you for the information.
Yeah.
And it's about knowing. I'm not going to swear. Sorry. Knowing your stuff. If you want to change the language in your head, but I always say know your stuff, don't show your stuff.
Yeah.
But knowing more than anyone else gives you that opportunity. Yeah. And that's what I did when I was part-time, and people were coming to me saying, about this product, can you help? And because of that, I then became the youngest buyer in the UK for a privately owned multiple. Right. We think. I've never bothered checking. It's not worthwhile. It means nothing. But it means that at the age of 19, at that point, I started buying for 11 shops for a company called JH Lorimer. Yeah. And I learned lots. I hated being in an office. That was the big thing for me. I liked being on the shop floor. I liked working with people. I hated people.
Ask anybody in retail; they'll tell you the same. Great job apart from customers.
Yeah, I was good at it. I was good at selling, good at dealing with people. So I did lots inside that company, including the IT. I did their IT support, their IT training, which is where I got into training people. And I did 10 years with them, right. Doing all sorts of stuff, and it was brilliant. Then they got taken over. I jumped ship rather than stayed in place and became a sales rep for a year. Credit crunch hit, and I wasn't very good at being a sales rep. It was the other thing I learned. I haven't got that killer thrust in me. That wasn't my thing, but it all came to a very amicable end, and they'd sent me on a sales training course, and I discovered learning. I hated school. I was all right at school, but I didn't enjoy it. I discovered real learning, and I suddenly did that and went, what do I do next? And I started. I literally got a pen, put it in a book, and I trained to become a clinical hypnotherapist.
Right.
Because I could, because it was interesting, and and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought there were going to be people clucking like chickens, and it was serious. It was really important stuff. There were lots of people from the NHS and that side of things there looking into it for their role, and I discovered spirituality, which I never thought was a phrase would come out of my mouth. And I discovered NLP, which I then kind of carried forwards with me. Got halfway through that course, that's when I got made redundant, and decided, I'll become a driving instructor because I could drive. I remember David Baldock, my trainer, said to me first time I met him, said, so why do you want to become a driving instructor? And I said, because I'm good with people and I'm good at taking systems and breaking them down to make them simple. And he looked at me slightly panicked. And I said, was that the wrong answer? And he goes, no, everyone says I like driving or I'm good at driving. I went, no, you haven't seen my driving. So, and it's always been that you don't have to be good to be a good good trainer or something. You don't have to be good at it yourself. So understanding is what's important. I used to sell art supplies. I'm not good at art. So yeah, I got into the driving instructing world and suddenly thought, right, I'll finish off the hypnotherapy, and realised it was a court case waiting to happen. If I was putting people into a trance or showed an ability to do so, because like driving instructing, it's very misunderstood. And I therefore moved into the kind of NLP side, neuro-linguistic programming, which is just about communication skills. It's about taking models that work and putting them into practice, which is what we do. That is, it's very much a model of what my life's been.
Yeah, it's something you say, getting the best out of people, and I think that's a key phrase, isn't it? Because it's already in there. We make the mistake of thinking that all we got to do is take this person that's next to us and fill them full of our righteous wisdom and knowledge, and they'll be good.
Yeah,
we've been doing that for a lot of years, and it's not produced the level of driving that we're looking for. But anyway,
and if you haven't unlocked it yet, you haven't found the skill, you steal it from someone else. And I think driving instructors are brilliant at doing that. I was teaching some theory yesterday. We were doing the road studs. And the pupil, not your average 17-year-old. She's got a 2-3-year-old son, and I said, "Is he into superheroes yet?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Tell me about the Incredible Hulk." She said, "Oh no, when he gets angry, he goes green." So I said, "Really green when angry? Red, green, white, amber." And she went, "Oh, I remember that now. That's it." Yeah. She said, "That was brilliant." I went, "No, I stole it. It's fine. It's not mine."
A good idea is a good idea, no matter where you steal it from.
So, yeah. So you take what works and you implement it, and I think that that's something that I've been good at. I'm not naturally talented. I just steal other people's ideas.
I mean, the key thing is having that in your bag of tricks, isn't it? And I always refer back to that poem by Søren Kierkegaard where he talks about, well, it's obviously translated English, so from the Danish, so it doesn't rhyme anymore. But it's all about, before you can help somebody, you've got to understand what they understand. If you can't do that, you can't really help. You probably need to know more than they do, but not always. But you probably need to know more than them. But if you persist in showing that you know more, that's arrogance and vanity. And you're not really trying to help. You're trying to show how clever you are. And I see a lot of that in the driving instructor again. And all true helpfulness starts with humility before those that we wish to help. You start lording it over people, which is why I love the phrase "just driving instructor." It's the job in driving instructor. So that led you to becoming a driving instructor, which then led you to building "I'm an ADI stroke PDI and I'm on Facebook." Tell me about that. What possessed you? I'm coming back to that in a minute.
It was really interesting. James Comley mentioned the other day that people used to talk, and I suddenly it was a real sudden moment of going, I've only known driving instructing really when Facebook's been about, with when social media's been around, because I was a PDI and I got bored one day and went, I wonder how many driving instructors are on there. there wasn't a group, so I set it up.
I think it's fair to say you were the first.
Yeah, there was an advert on TV that was I'm a PC, so hence the name. I'm a driving instructor, and I'm on Facebook. Right. It was I'm a PC and they'd say something else, and it was on TV, so why not? So that's where the name came from, and probably the vast majority of other groups on Facebook have been, born of it. Yeah. Outside of the ones where there's an associated company that started a group, which makes sense. Yeah. But the others have kind of, either been through an argument where we've had a falling out.
Well, people argue on
that. Occasionally, 10 instructors in a room, and you'll get 11 opinions.
Absolutely.
So we've got 9,500. We're proudly sitting, I think, in second place in the number of members. But quality over quantity is fine.
Love that.
No, it's back in the day. Pete Hope led the rebellion, and there was a real issue, and it's still an issue. Humour doesn't translate in text very easily.
Yeah.
So I got a reputation. Everyone thought that I was at least 60 and that I lived and slept with a highway code, because the way that I would write things was in that style, because it needed to be coming across and being understood by everybody. So apparently I don't have a sense of humour, and some people have been very shocked when they've met me.
Well, you do have a sense of humour.
Yeah, but I'd really try not to take anything too seriously. But you end up portraying this kind of written image of you. And there were, driving instructors like to have a laugh. I always think it's a bit like police and emergency services with the dark humour.
Can be a bit dark, the humour,
yeah. You need that release, and I, as much as anybody, really appreciate that. But there's a time and place, and you have to get that right. And I think a lot of instructors get that wrong, especially when it comes to social media.
Yeah, but it's just banter, mate. It's just banter.
So yeah, you don't put it in writing, is what I learned a long time ago.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. He said, I've been looking around these groups on Facebook. Why are they like that? Oh, it's awful. It's well, hang on a minute. How many people are in the group? You're going to say 9,000. If you started from 10 o'clock today and put 9,000 people together by 10:30, somebody'd be dead. That's just how human beings are. At least here it's just, tongue lashings and keyboard warriors. But
exactly. And what Pete brilliantly did, and I thanked him for it numerous times, was he set up another group. And the problem is, when you do that, it becomes an us and them thing. And it really wasn't. It was the funny side, and he had his own battles over there, and it changed hands and all sorts. Yeah. And the politics of Facebook is hysterical. But they became the rebel forces. So we naturally, and sorry, just to show you the T-shirt, come to the dark side. We have free Wi-Fi.
So
we became the dark side. Yeah, and people never know what TDS stands for, because people just refer to TDS. I think they're referring to me, saying that I am tedious. But
you're the dark overlord. You're sick. That's you.
I went to the Big Learner Relay as Darth Vader. It amused me. That's all that counts for me. It's fine. But yeah, so that's the dark side, and lots of people think it's a name that is slating us. We embrace it. We love it, and it stood the test of time, which many haven't. And I think that means we're getting it right. We don't get it right all the time. We definitely upset people with things like you can't talk about PPE, but sometimes you just got to go. I've read it a million times.
Enough of that now, yeah.
But what I've always done is try to reach out, and we've spoken about this. If there's an issue with somebody, the second that you reach out to them, is suddenly realise that you're human.
Yeah.
And I've made some really strong friendships like that. The one that always stands out to me is Liz Sheridan, who's no longer with us, but she hated me absolutely. She really would go to town, and she was good at it as well. But then we got chatting, and it got to the point where she'd be the first one to send me a message going, "I think you need to have seen this." And she was on my side on the private messaging. Publicly, no, she still played the villain quite fun, well.
Isn't it? Sometimes you've got to admire the creativity that goes into it.
We always laughed about it, and those sorts of things. I've met some amazing people doing this, so it's been worth it.
Brilliant. I just love the story that everybody's thinking that TDS is an insult, and you're actually loving it and turning up at places dressed as Darth Vader. Quality moment. So obviously you've then got better driver training. I mean, it was obviously CB before that. And then DITC. What's that all about?
Yeah. Well, I suppose actually the route to DITC came through my journey as an ADI. That when you come into the industry, before you come in, what we're calling pre-PDIs, because I think it explains what I mean. But so pre-PDIs are really searching for the truth, and they're searching for guidance, and they tend to get a sales pitch at best.
And everybody looks the same in the glossy brochures.
So, or they get misled deliberately, at worst. And there isn't. It's a new phrase that I've discovered through lockdown. Someone was asking about language that you've learned, and we must have doubled the vocabulary. Zoom is my new life, but there isn't really a meta industry. So there isn't a big picture industry because we're all isolated and working individually. That whatever we're doing is the truth, and that's not necessarily correct. I was in a webinar on Tuesday. I don't know if you've seen Harry Devlin's been doing webinars for ADIs and learners. And Barry Dunn was talking about motorways, and they criticised the Highways England for the lack of information being put out about smart motorways, or the lack of education being put out. Their YouTube channel is one of the best. It has 3.03 thousand followers. Now there's 38,000 instructors. It should be at least 40,000 people on there.
Well, it's we mourn about this though. I had a conversation with somebody recently saying, I think it's appalling this standards check thing. They've just dropped this on us, and it's a tick box test. So well, hang on a minute, just what we could probably do with what they should have done was given us some guidance, shouldn't it? Should have done that. October 2013, they released it.
But
you're not ready.
That's scary. That's scary though, isn't it? But it's exactly that there isn't joined up dots. COVID came along, and I have it on good authority that the DVSA said that they can't email everybody because they can't send out a message to all the instructors. And I thought, let's have a register and we'll put all the names on it, and that'd be a really good way of doing it. But the industry doesn't work that way.
No.
And there've been lots of teachings through COVID. I think that instructors shouldn't be looking to the DVSA, and I have a lot of time for the DVSA. I've got good connections with them. But they've made it very clear that we need to look after ourselves. I think they've caused some of the problem because they've taught us to look to them. And any time, if someone stops a particular behaviour, you still expect that behaviour to occur because you've got used to it happening. It takes time for adjustment, So we need to do that. We need to adjust. So going back, I was searching for information. I went the BSM route, and for me it was really good. And I always say it a lot of the time it's which trainer you got. I was lucky. I got a very sarcastic basket who worked perfectly for me. And I say that with respect, and he knows that. He took me under his wing a little bit because he knew that I was out of work and I needed to get the job done. So I got varied training as well, because I got to do training with lots of different people, and I love 2-to-1 training. It worked for me. I'm better sat in the back seat watching than I am doing it myself.
Easy to be an expert from back there, isn't it?
Oh, totally, yeah. So that's what we all do. We all sit in the other seat and tell people what they're doing wrong.
Well, what you could have done was.
It's same as the lovely Boris Johnson, isn't it? We all could do that better. I don't want that job.
Easy. How hard could it be?
So I did that, and then rapidly went out on my own. CB's driving school, and I did that, and realised there wasn't anybody around. But I was really lucky. I met the lovely Lynn Webb, who's a local instructor, who kind of showed me that there was a better way. It wasn't just about telling people how to do things.
Yeah.
And it fitted with my natural style and my previous experience. And then I discovered other people through going to conferences and such. Yes, I know they're a long distance, but do it. It really does open your eyes. And then I unfortunately went on a training course, and I met a bloke who had a child the same age as mine, which apparently I then invited him to my son's birthday party, and it was weird because we'd only just met. I don't remember it that way, but and since then we got on, sort of. I've since married him, so that's that says something. I got to run the wedding. It's just people who accuse me of wanting to be front and center. Yeah, all right. We and he was marrying one of our instructors, who then wasn't an instructor, but we kept it in house. And Ian and I met through training and discovered that we were both trying to do the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we were total opposites. And I always think if you can get total opposites, you get a lovely balance in the middle. So we started working together, and then decided, look, we're doing the work twice, let's combine, and let's set up a driving school. And it was just going to be the two of us to start with. Let's set up a driving school where it's designed for the instructor and not for the school.
Yeah.
And let's focus on what the instructor needs, and actually we'll get a really good product at the end of it. And it seems to be working. The instructors love it. We're doing really well from that perspective.
You can make it happen so that it benefits both, can't you? So that you've got that symbiotic relationship where you depend on each other. Really.
And I think it's just been trying to change things so that you've got power being given to instructors. So COVID came along, and it's my COVID story was getting turned away from my second Tesco's when they shut the doors early. And then walking home, looking at my car, looking at the front door, and going all sugar. And then I did that very 21st century thing of I got the phone out and made a video. But just saying to people, it's okay to panic, it's okay to be worried, but there's enough of us. We'll stick together and we'll figure it out. And that's my criticism of the industry, and by the industry I mean the associations, the DVSA, the structure around the industry, that people that run driving schools as well. But it's really difficult when you haven't got the bigger structure there. That no one has said anything at that point. I think since then, the ADI&JC have been a shining light. They've done some wonderful stuff. The DIA have put things out there. NASP have really pulled together. MSA have been supporting their members. For me, that first couple of weeks when we didn't know, it's okay to say I don't know.
Yeah.
And we should know that as trainers.
Yeah,
we should know that, and no one did.
No.
So I decided, because I like making these silly leaps, that I would I'd try and keep people informed. So I'd gather information from whoever was then speaking, and funnel it. So I became an expert on SEISS payments and on universal credit overnight. I could tell you where to find the right number box on the tax return, which my family find hysterical because that's the bit of the job that I've never been trained to do and have never been particularly good at. And that has become the DITC.
And if people want to find out more about it, where do they find it?
theditc.co.uk, because we like keeping it simple, or check it out on Facebook, or give me a call, and we'll have a chat. It's not an association. We don't want to be. That's not what we're trying to do. It is a signposting point, a communication point for instructors. Okay. And we are working hard to bring all of that together. And it's got a membership side. There's a free side. The website's going to be free. Membership side where you get discounts. And at the moment, any PDI or ADI, as long as they pass their part 1 for PDIs, can join and be a student with an actual student card. Right. So you get student discounts. So that's where we're going. It's a long journey, but we're going to get there.
Excellent. Oh, that's a fascinating journey, and you're not at the end of it yet. You stay in the industry until you're as old as me, which is quite some distance off. We had a similar thing at the start of the thing. Everybody was running around like headless chickens, so I started doing Facebook Lives every Monday morning for our guys and just saying, look, it is okay to worry, like you quite rightly say, but here's what we think might happen. Here's the possible outcomes. It will be one of those. So just plan accordingly, and touched on the mental health end of things very early on, just saying, look, you've got to make sure this doesn't make you hide under the bed and rock back and forward. It's talk to each other. It is okay. It is pants. This is rubbish. Nobody really knows what's happening at this point.
And for me, that's what, I suppose that's what my journey's been about. Has been about communicating with people. We've got local networks that I've set up. Consider I genuinely, I'm not a big fan of people. I'm quite happy on my own, but I see the need for communication. So I like to do that. I've done the whole mental health journey myself, which I'm always happy talking to people about. But I've had my challenges and continue to. There've been times. The third lockdown, which at the beginning we didn't think we'd be saying that. That third one was a real
it's just one of those FFS moments, isn't it?
It was,
like,
and my productivity dropped, and whereas the first one I was doing 16-hour days just to keep things. If I can deal with other people's problems, I haven't got to worry about my own. So that was it, and the family were awesome and supported that. But I think it got to the third one and just went, hang on, I'm running out of wind. But then spoke to people who genuinely appreciate the help and the support, because it's if you're with a good school, they will give you that support. If you're on your own, or you're with a school that isn't doing that holistic approach, it is a lonely world.
It can be. It can. Even though you're meeting new people every hour, it's still, or every 2 hours, it can still be really lonely, can't it?
And they're not normally real people, are they?
No.
You're there to do a job.
That's right.
It's the smile. And most recently, the thing that I kind of I connected with was when Harry and Meghan were in the much spoken about interview. But the bit that I connected with was when they said, you go out there and you put the smile on. And you go out there and I could be having a rotten day today. I'm not. It's fine. No one needs to worry.
Customers would never know. Though. That's the thing, isn't it?
But you don't. You hide behind it. You never know what's behind. And Facebook's the same. You don't know what's behind people's comments.
That's right. So, there's a whole story there, isn't there? People often say that to me. How are you always so positive on these Facebook Lives and stuff on the Monday morning? That's where you've not seen the hour before.
Or the empty bot. No. It's you find your way to do it, and I think I've learned lots of different versions of that. I've learned that I'm not good when I know I can re-record things, which I think is a good metaphor for life. So if I'm trying to record. If I'm trying to record a video for myself to put out there, it'll take 100 takes. It really will. I can't get there. But stick me live on TV or something, and that's fine. I just talk and I process later.
Well, I think it's good, and I think you've represented yourself, not only yourself, but the industry well when you've done that thing. And the reason they keep inviting you back is because you're engaging and you're interesting and you've got stuff to say.
It's not easy. And as I say, if someone else wanted to do it, I don't have a particular need. It's that what I do need is for instructors to be recognised, for instructors to be understood.
It's lovely because I think during all of this, the nice thing that has come from it is that I think as an industry, we have kind of come together a little bit more. My only worry is that as we enter this time of plenty that's about to come, that we don't spread apart again. Fingers crossed. Well, at least we're not going to be facing a price war, are we? Well, it'll be upwards.
I was going to say possibly, but in the other direction. Who can charge the most? But I think even there, people are rightly saying you've got to be careful. You've got to make sure that you can sustain it. That things don't change too rapidly, and then you end up priced out of things. So it's a lovely problem to be having.
It is. But it's like you quite rightly say, we have to be careful because you're worth what somebody's prepared to pay you. And if you go 50 pence over it, you're done.
Yeah, and it's then about, it's not about changing the price, but changing your worth.
Yes.
It's about making sure that you you are worth it. That the value is there. And there's so many ways to do that now. It's really exciting. The concept of not, this is the new me, being a driving instructor without a car. That concept is I'm finding really challenging. I've had to rediscover myself. Because I do, the green badge is like, is my logo. And I've still got it, so I'm still a driving instructor, which people have struggled to come to terms with. So you're not a driving instructor anymore. No, I am, but I'm going to do classroom. I'm going to do Zoom training. I'm going to support people with dyslexia, dyspraxia, who are struggling with the theory, and do that. And I'm excited about that. It's really interesting.
Well, I have no doubt, no matter what it is that you turn your hand to, Mr. Bensted, you'll be successful at it.
I hope so. The other half hopes so as well.
Yeah. Well, look, we will wrap up for now, but thanks for taking the time to share that with us. It's been fascinating. And I'm sure people will be able to see a different side of it, the light side.
Yes, I have to get a different T-shirt.
Brilliant. That's excellent, Chris. Thanks ever so much for sharing the time with us. And I'm sure we'll do this again at some other point.
Definitely. Always a pleasure.